just like heaven. Wifey, you mean the world to me.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of Etcetera with the Woodards. Can you believe it? This podcast is on episode number 14. Amazing, amazing. I'm your host for the evening, Craig Woodard Sr. Hey, listen, my analytics show that I have 4 minutes and 17 seconds to make sure that I grab your attention. The reason why is because that is the average length of time of viewership right now. Although many people have watched the entire episode of a number of these episodes, I have 4 minutes and 17 seconds as the average. So I want to get right into it. I have extended my reach a little bit, just like I did last week. I am going live on Facebook as well so that I can hit more people. We are on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is at Etcetera with the Woodards, and you can follow us, share, subscribe, do all of those great things. Let's get into it. Okay, we have some fascinating topics this week, just like we did last week. The topic I'm going to start off with is restoring relationships from the past with family and friends before it's too late. We're going to discuss a little bit of that. We're also going to talk about apologies. But one of the hardest things for people to do is apologies. And then we're going to get into mental health issues. How do you handle those issues? How do you recognize those issues in other people? Um, Along with anxiety and depression, things in that nature. So, wanted to touch base with you about the topics. We are live on Facebook. If you have any questions, if you want to chime in, please feel free to do so. And then we will air the full entire episode Monday evening around 9 o'clock. It runs on Facebook, it runs on Instagram, it runs on our YouTube channel, LinkedIn as well. And of course, you can find it at our website at www.dsatb.org. Okay, getting into it. Relationships in the past, restoring these relationships. How important is this for you to do? I can guarantee you that this hits home with many people right now. There are many families out there. Think about it. I want you guys to participate here. I want you guys to really think about um, relationships that you have had that you no longer have. Why do you no longer have those relationships? What happened? Do you really remember what happened? Why do you not talk to someone that you were close to before? Even if you have family members that you had to cut off, me included. I had to do this in the past. I had a past relationship, and I had some family members and some friends that kind of picked sides and didn't have certain people in my life as the best interest to them, and so I had to cut them off. Did you guys go through anything like that? I can share one of my experiences with you. So, years ago, graduating high school, I lived off campus my last couple years off campus, and I had a roommate, and we worked odd jobs to make sure that we made ends meet and things like that, and paid the rent. But I was finding out that my dad was paying my rent. Rent. These are the good old days, back in the '90s when you could rent an apartment for $500 in Erie, Pennsylvania. You guys remember those days? $500 for rent. Uh, Incredible. But anyway, my dad would pay half of the rent. He would send out a check for $250 every month, and it would come probably a week before rent was due on the first. And my roommate was going down to the mailroom, and he was taking the check, and he would hold that check until the following month, and then he would pay the rent with both of my father's checks that came in for this month and the next month, and he would pay it late until he got money. Um, I was unaware of this until I actually caught on. My dad kind of informed me that the checks hadn't been cashed timely, and so I caught on to this, and I ended up moving out after I graduated from Mercyhurst University, and I had put down $250 as a security deposit. So that money was down. I cleaned my portion of the apartment and I'm moving out now. We both were on the lease, and the landlord um, obviously allowed me to move out and was going to pay me my 250. But what he did was he got a visit from my roommate who went down there and told him that I said that it was okay for him to hang on to the 250 and that my roommate was going to pay me the 250. Well, I've never said that, So he went down there and lied about it. And so, I was really, really upset about that. And then I thought, okay, maybe he's just in a financial position. Okay, when are you going to give me my money? And he said, my next paycheck, I'm going to give you the 250. Well, it took about 2 months for him to come up with the $250. 2 months. The one thing that you don't mess with when you're talking about Big C Wood, you don't mess with my family and you don't mess with my money. And I contacted his boss and found out where he was working that day. And I traveled over to where he was working. He paints, was painting houses and apartments and stuff like that. And I went over there and I got my money. Needless to say, that was the last time that I spoke to him. And this is back in 1996. We're talking about almost 30 years ago. Almost 30 years ago. Um, I was a good friend to this guy. He was a good friend to me as well. And we went through something that should not have been such a big deal. It was $250. It's money. It was my money. But the way that he went about it, I didn't like it, and that cost a friendship. So Lynn Whalen, if you're out there and you hear this, I apologize how I handled things. I hope you apologize how you handled things as well. We could have done it differently, and we lost 29 years because of it. Um, Money's the root of all evil, and it got us. And so I want to try to um, restore that relationship, but also just let bygones be bygones. That's the bigger thing to do. And I know all of you have probably gone through something like this. 29 years, and this was my roommate. We were close. We did everything together, and money broke us apart. And so. Um, have you had a relationship or a family member that's borrowed money from you and then had problems paying it back, and they dodge you all the time and now you don't speak to them anymore? I mean, we've all been in that situation before, or something else has occurred in a relationship that you've had that you just didn't see eye to eye with that person, and you went your other ways. You guys split ways, and you haven't had a conversation with that person in a long time, whether it be an old friend or maybe even a family member. Tomorrow is not promised. Tomorrow is not promised. You got to make amends today. You got to make amends today. I'm telling you, there is so much death around us right now. This is my birthday month. It's June 1st today. Happy birthday to my cousin Chris out there, Christopher James. My birthday is June 26th. I'm going to be 51 years old. When you get a little older, you get a little wiser, you start to think about these things a little bit deeper. You start to think about the things that you missed in the past because of certain situations. And you guys know who I'm talking about. You guys know out there, you guys are in the same position that there's somebody that you haven't spoken to in a long time because of something. Restore your past relationships while you have time. This is one of the hardest things that you have to do. Um, each relationship needs a champion. Why not that be you? Why not that be you? Why not you take the high road and try to squash things? You don't need that stress on your heart. You don't need that stress in your life. And I'm gonna tell you what, it helps um, relationships that your children will have down the line because it teaches a lesson. You know, I have another good friend of mine that um, was not communicating with his mother, and for a long time they didn't see eye to eye. And he came to me and we talked about it. And I told him, I said, man, listen, call your mom up, and if she doesn't answer the phone, you call the next day. And then you call the next day. And then you call the next day until she answers the phone. And I said, you make things right. This relationship needs a champion, and you have to be that champion. Because our parents, and my dad will watch this, my mom will watch this, old school baby boomers, they're very, very stubborn. Very stubborn. And I know you guys, especially my relatives out there that are related to the Woodard and the Francis family, we got stubbornness all through the family, you know? And so that's a problem. And we have to break that. And how we have to break that is we have to make sure that we break that so it's not passed on to our children. And this is something very important to do. And I told him, I said, man, you have to be the champion here. And he looked at me, he had some tears in his eyes, and I said, be the champion in this one. And so he ended up contacting her. He called a number of times. She finally answered. They spoke for a long period of time. And then he called her again and they spoke for a long period of time. And apologies were exchanged. And she's older now. She's up in her upper 80s, I believe. And she's having a little bit of health issues as well right now. However, just a couple months ago, she came down to visit him with his brother. And I was honored to go over and meet her for the very first time. And he told her that I was the one that encouraged him to get things back on track. And it was a fantastic feeling to see him do this. And what that also did is it also showed his children what he's capable of and what they need to do. You have to break the cycle. It's up to us to break the cycle. You have a responsibility to break the cycle. And I know you out there are listening to me, and you guys are all in the same situations. You have friends or family that you have chosen not to have a relationship with due to whatever reason it is, but tomorrow is not promised. Make that change. Be the champion in the relationship and change that around. You can do that. You have the power, and God is in us. He lives with us, and He will bless you, and you will feel so much better. You'll stop carrying a lot of that stress on your heart, and just feel so much better, man. So I encourage you all to do these things. I've attempted to do that with a number of relationships that I've had. Um, Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Um, that other person also has to be ready to accept you, and if they're not, it's okay, because if something were to happen and one of you two were to pass, you know that you gave it your best shot to restore that relationship, even if it doesn't happen. But you don't want to have any regrets, because if that person passes away and you still have some type of feeling for that person, you're going to regret this for the rest of your life. So be the champion in the relationship and reach out until you can't reach out anymore. And then if you get the signal that they're not being reciprocal, um, you've done exactly what it was that you could do in your power to try to control that. So restoring past relationships with family and friends is something that I encourage you all to try to do. I encourage you all to try to do. And God bless you all for trying to do that as well. Okay. Moving on. I want to, almost on the same topic, what kind of separates people anyway is, I can use my boys. They probably wouldn't mind me talking about them. My two oldest kids, Dante and Jordan, when they were young, um, the hardest thing for them to do was to apologize to one another. The hardest thing for Dante and Jordan to do was to apologize. Um, you know, Dante was the big brother, but he's built really slim and he's a little shorter. Jordan passed him when they were in single digits as far as height was concerned. But Dante had to prove a point that he was the big brother. So they used to get into it all the time, man. Whether it was playing football rough or basketball rough or Dante beating up on Jordan. And I do remember one time Jordan got Dante and he slammed him. But Dante got him back, and it's just been crazy. But whenever I used to get on their case, I used to always try to tell them, "You guys are brothers. You guys are brothers. You guys have to love each other, right?" And so if it got too far, I would always say, "Apologize to your brother." And the look on their face, they did not want to apologize. What's happening, Ramona? How you doing, cuz? They did not want to apologize to their brother. It was one of the harder things as a father that I had to do was to try to teach them that it is okay to be sorry. It is okay to apologize. I had a tough time with that. I think most of us guys have a tough time with that. I know women have a tough time with that. I mean, I think that's just human nature. It's natural because everyone wants to be right all the time, but we're not, and we're human, and we make mistakes. And so, as an adult now, I try to recognize any mistake that I make, and I try to apologize for it. And more importantly, I try to do that in front of my children so that they see that their dad is setting a standard of how you should conduct business. Um, but even still to this day, and Dante is 25, and Jordan will be 24 on July 23rd. It is tough for them to apologize, but they've gotten better, and I'm very, very proud of them. So teach your kids to apologize. Teach them to say, "I'm sorry." Make sure that it's authentic. Make sure that they mean it. Make sure that it comes from the heart. Anyone can just say it. Make sure that there is a lot of depth in what they're saying. And then, more importantly, don't do it again. So that is part of what we're talking about here as well. As I stated, tomorrow is not promised for anyone. So if there's somebody out there that you need to apologize to, there's someone out there that you need to say I'm sorry to, please make that call. Reach out to that person. Send an email. Send a text. Now is the time to do it because tomorrow is not promised. Okay. Moving on to the next subject here, I wanted to talk about something that is really important and something that's getting a lot of attention. And this is why I wanted to bring more attention to this on this platform is mental health. Um, Having mental health issues is the same as having physical health issues. Physical health issues are if you have injuries and pains and aches and things in that nature. Well, when you have mental health, you can't see it physically, but that person feels it. Um, they have depression, they have anxiety, and I can speak for from experience. Not that I have depression or anxiety, or I ever had. I've been blessed not to, but I have close family members that do suffer from this. The one thing I can tell you is when you notice that someone has mental health issues or an anxiety or depression, and you tell them that they need to go see a professional, they're not going to go see a professional. That is not what they want to hear. Um, they want people that are in their circle to understand how they feel. Um, I think that's one of the most important things that they want is they want people to understand how they feel. Um, I've dealt with this with a close family member. Um, you know, that was suicidal. Um, it's horrific to go through, But what do you do when you're in that situation and you want to offer help to somebody? The thing is sometimes we don't know how to help. We can't see physically what's wrong with them, so we don't know how to help. Sometimes you just have to check on people. You hear me? Sometimes you just got to check on people and say, um, how are you feeling today? How's your day going? Is there anything that I can do to make you feel more comfortable? Is there anything that I can do to make your day better? Um, Sit and talk with them. You know, there's a reason why they're sleeping a long time, or in the bedroom a long time, or sitting in a room with the lights out. Um, you know, there's a reason why they're not as socially active. Um, there's a reason why they may not want to go around a bunch of people. Um, Anxiety was explained to me that people feel when they're anxious that their throat is closing on them, that they're suffocating. They get sweats, they get shakes, they get nervous, they feel like they can't breathe. Not even just they feel like they can't breathe. It's something that I have not experienced myself, but I would not want to experience. So it's tough to relate to it if you do not suffer from any type of mental health issue. Um, but I want to encourage not only everyone, but um, mainly the men, fellas out there. If you're going through any mental health issues, anxiety, depression, reach out to someone, notify someone, reach out to me. I'll talk to you. You know, I think guys have a mystique, and it comes from old school. My grandfather was one of those type of guys that he never wanted to go to the doctor. Never wanted to go to the doctor. I'm good. I'm good. Never want to go to the doctor. You know, going to the doctor is a sign of weakness. It's not. It's not a sign of weakness. Being here for your family is the strength that you have. So, doing things that are preventative for your health, your physical health, and your mental health, they are needed so that you're here and present for your family. So, fellas out there, we have to drop the ego. If you need help, if you need assistance, um, it is okay to open your mouth and say something, or raise your hand and say something if you need something, because we got to break the cycle. In the old school way, like I said, back in the day, men didn't go to the hospital, they didn't go to the doctor a lot. Um, it's just one of those things. Just reading one of the comments from my cousin Ramona. She said, "I did anxiety when COVID came." Yeah, you know what? There's triggers, and it can be any type of um, event that happens. Maybe someone asks you to speak in front of a group of people, which is one of the um, greatest fears of people is public speaking. Um, I, of course, have never felt that way. I love speaking to people, as you all know, those that know me. But that would do it for someone, and they would get anxious, and they couldn't do it. They'd break out in hives, and their mouth would be dry mouthed. That's what I call it. Um, it could be anything. Giving a presentation, um, getting a promotion at work, and now you're a manager, and you have to have uh, branch meetings or meetings with people and train people. Um, you know, a- Anxiety is something that can control how you make a living. You know, um, so I just really encourage you all to um, please seek the help that you need, but also um, try to recognize when somebody else needs this assistance, and don't be overbearing, and don't, you know, um, be sharp with your tongue. If you guys get in an argument and it kind of just doesn't make sense that you're in this type of an argument, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something deeper. So you got to give that person a break and ask those questions. Like I said, ask those questions. How are you feeling? Is there anything that I can do to make you feel better? Um, how do you feel? Um, those key questions are really, really key. And then you have to listen for the answer. Um, you know, there's a thing that says that, guys, we hear 25% of what women say, or our spouses or girlfriends, we hear 25%, and there's things that where the guys are different from women, and the guys need women to tell us the things that you want us to do for you. Um, and on the other side of things, you all want us to just go ahead and do those things without telling us because you don't want to tell us. But, we're men. So if you tell us to do something, we will get it done. But if you expect it to get done, you might get disappointed, you know. Um, so us guys may not be as vocal, so you'll have to forgive us. But I'm trying to encourage the fellas, even from to your dogs, man, your boys out there. Check in on your boys. Call your boys up. Hey, man, how you doing? How you feeling? You know, I sent my buddy a text message the other day. My buddy, he suffers from anxiety and depression, and I know that. And I've dealt with him and worked with him um, for many years on trying to not just overcome it, but deal with it in the best way. And I sent him a text message the other day, and I just said, "Little bro, I love you. I want to let him know how I feel about him. You know, I want him to know that he's not in this by himself. I want him to know that there's somebody else out there that loves you. And sometimes that feeling, to have that feeling, um, to be loved, and someone is vocal about it, um, might make his day just a little bit easier, you know?" And he responded back, "I love you too, big bro." And that's what it is, man. Check on your people. Check on your people. Make sure they're good. Um, and if they're not, you must intervene, but you must intervene um, the correct way. So, those are some topics, man, I just wanted to get into, though they were heavy on my heart, and I wanted to discuss this with everyone. And um, I know everyone can relate to this, whether it's restoring past relationships before it's too late, or dealing with mental health issues, anxiety, depression. Um, these things become bigger issues as you get older. And, as I said, last week we talked about, life after 50, and I'm going on 51 this month. So you start thinking about these things. And I mentioned last week, I'm like, you know, um, if you put a cone down and start at zero, and you take your first step, and that's one, and you count all the way up to 51, walking forward, and you turn around and you look at the cone, and you look and see how far back that cone is, 51 steps behind you. And then you turn around and you look to another 30 steps. 30 steps would put me at 81. Will I be lucky enough to make it to 81? Will I hit 85? Will I hit 90? Well, bottom line is, right now at 51 years old, my life is more than halfway over. And that's the reality of it, is that I've lived almost 51 years already. What is left for me and what can happen in these next 30 to 40 years, God willing, and how many close people am I going to lose along the way. And so it just makes you think about certain things. It makes you think about how you should conduct life. It makes you think about your family. It just makes you think um, differently. And I hope this podcast made you think differently as well. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up now. NBA finals start Thursday, June 5th. We got the Indiana Pacers taking on OKC. Now, you remember in my podcast before the playoffs started, I said OKC is the team to beat. I still think OKC is going to be the NBA champions. We will find out pretty soon. But I appreciate everyone for chiming in and listening and sticking around more than 4 minutes and 17 seconds, etc. E, energy. I tried to give you as much energy as I could. T is for transparency. I always try to be as truthful as possible and transparent. And the C is for, what is the C for? Etc. Energy, transparency. What is the C for? C is for Seawood tonight because it's my birthday month. Ha ha! June 26th. June 26th. 51 years old, your boy. Thanks for tuning in. For Christine Woodard, I'm Craig Woodard. Good night. I will be off next week. I will be out of town visiting my father, who is going to be 80 on June 9th. And I will be in the same room with all four of my sisters for the first time in our lives. For the first time in our lives, we'll be in the same room together celebrating my dad's 80th birthday, June 9th. So I will be off, no podcast next week, but I will pick it up the week after that. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.